Life can change in an instant. For many wheelchair users, the struggle to push forward is a daily challenge.
After years of development and countless prototypes, we created Rib Grips, the revolutionary wheelchair hand rim covers with built-in ribs for ultimate grip and comfort.
No more slick surfaces, no more heat burns, just pure, reliable grip. Rib Grips, empowering you to push forward with ease. Rib Grips, get a grip on your freedom. Discover the difference. Visit ribgrips.com and use promo code GRIP today. You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today.
BooBaes.
BooBaes. Hi,
Hello.
and welcome to
BooBaes.
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 I'm
that's
Joshua,
right. And I'm Caitlin.
and we're here to give you a hell of a good time.
A hell of a good time.
But
We're
I'm
going
sure-
to raise some hell.
We are. We're going to hell.
That's right.
Today we're going to be talking about Hellraiser,
1987.
British supernatural horror film.
Directed by Clive Barker and written
produced
by.
Produced by. Based on Barker's 1986 book, The Hellbound Heart.
Hellbound Heart,
Mm-hmm.
which was going to be the original name, but then they said, that sounds a little too lovey-dovey, so how about no?
But it makes sense because this entire movie is literally The Hellbound Heart.
Yes.
But the second movie is actually called Hellbound,
Yeah.
the sequel.
So I thought it was really funny. I was reading about it, and it said the studio decided the title sounded too much like a romance and asked Clive Barker to change it. Barker offered Sadomasochist from Beyond the Grave. Doesn't
cute.
quite have as much of a ring to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, which was rejected for the overtly sexual content. He ultimately opened the floor to the production team to offer up their own suggestions, and apparently prompting a 6-year-old female crew member to offer up what a woman will do for a good fuck.
A 6-year-old?
A 60?
Oh, 60.
Yes.
I thought you said 6-year-old. I was like, damn.
What
the
has a
6-year-old.
6-year-old been through? No. No.
First words. Yeah. So all of that. It's 1987, right? We said that.
Mhm.
It's a pretty cult classic, I would say. I feel like a lot of people nowadays are like, Hellraiser is like one of the like a Freddy, like a Nightmare, like a Jason, like who's the other one? Freddy, Jason,
Michael?
Michael. I'm like missing someone there. Someone super important.
Our favorite one.
I know, but especially with Pinhead, these are it's kind of just a very staple, and like even if people have never seen Hellraiser, you know what Hellraiser is.
Yeah.
I feel
You've at least seen Pinhead.
You've seen the masks during Halloween at like the stores and everything.
Yes, exactly. It took 6 hours, roughly 6 hours, to apply all the prosthetic makeup for
Wow.
Pinhead.
I believe it. I
Mhm.
mean, this whole movie is the special effects, practical effects.
The practical effects
yeah,
are hella good.
It's really good,
Yeah.
for 1987, and them basically just doing everything, themselves.
Some of it was pretty gross.
It was, yeah. We even start off with it kind of
Yeah.
in that area. We have Mr. Frank starting us off in the movie. Let me open that. There we go. Because he's buying a box.
Yes.
And has some very dirty fingernails.
Oh God, the fingernails made me want to throw up.
I don't know how fingernails can get that dirty.
I was like, boy, you need to trim your nails and then also get one of those thingies and clean under them.
Mm-hmm.
The music here was really good. I thought Christopher Young composed it.
Yeah.
And
he's in charge of a lot of music.
Yeah, he's done other films such like Sinister.
Which we
2,
covered.
I believe, or just Sinister.
Mm.
I don't know. On the Sinister, yeah.
Yeah.
And then also a lot of other films that we've covered. He did The Grudge.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yep. He also did Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. It just came out. So
got it.
that's pretty cool. He's done a lot of big ones, which was fun. And the music I thought was really good. It was like haunting and creepy.
Whimsical.
Yeah.
All at the same time. Because it is kind of a love story.
It is.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Also,
he's a fucking prick.
Yeah. Special effects to Bob Keane as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or shout out to Bob Keane, who is the special effects, makeup design, and all that. Yeah. He really stuck his foot in it.
Because like we were just talking about, it's an iconic look.
Mm-hmm.
So to have done that, that's a pretty huge deal.
That's the legacy.
Yep.
And so we have Mr. Frank. He's buying a box.
What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton?
From this undisclosed person that we don't know his name, or their name. But anyways, we end up panning to Frank being in some candles that are set in a square around him. They're all lit.
The way he said, "Take it, it's yours." It always was very like
cryptic.
Yeah, and then it makes me think, because especially how the ending ends here as well, with another person.
Yeah,
I don't know who that was, but
the next victim.
Yeah, it was.
Also, was that due to shapeshifter? Was he the dragon?
The dragon
at the end.
The guy who
is selling the box, because he could obviously shapeshift into the homeless person.
True.
So it makes me think that he takes on different forms just to go and retrieve the box and then do it again to someone else.
Yeah, possibly. I like that idea. I say yes.
But yeah, he ends up taking the box. Like you said, he's in the candles.
And he's looking pretty fine.
Oh yeah, he's got a nice body, got a very pretty face. Yeah, and he ends up. It's basically like a puzzle box, magical puzzle box, and he does just the right little finger movement on it, and it starts opening up,
just like
pussy
legs.
Okay. And so we have these little blue lights that come out of the box. It's very that's the one that's the one thing that I don't like about the whole movie, as I think it could have done without the little electrical blue
and it wouldn't have dated it as much. That's true.
It could have gone away without using anything at all.
Yeah.
Just have it open.
And even the blue lights like creeping in from behind the wall holes. I don't know what that is. It's like floorboards, but on the wall.
The cracks?
Yeah.
The cracks in the walls, I guess. Yeah.
And that blue light looked really good.
Yeah.
And it did. It was like, ooh, something's here. And then those little things started going around and I was like.
It gave it a very 80s film.
Yeah, it did. And I feel like it also, so I know Cenobite isn't.
Cenobite Crunch?
Yes. No, but Cenobite sounds like something technological to me. Just that idea.
Yeah, even the bite part of it. Yeah.
I think that's probably what makes me think that.
And Make a bite, trilobite.
Yeah, and I feel like the little
electrical blue light things going.
Yeah, were kind of indicative of that. But again, I do feel like it could have done without that. And then the movie would have, I felt, really stood the test of time because the practical effects were so good.
Yeah.
And like unsettling at some points where I was like, this is fucking dark. And this looks really nice. Like they did a stand-up job with this.
Especially with the Frank character after the fact.
Yeah.
Like when he's all over the floor.
Oh, yeah, God. Yeah. Whenever he would start crawling,
scary.
I was like, oh!
It's freaky.
I don't like things crawling.
Especially when they look gross.
Yeah. And they're dragging like their little legs
don't work. Yeah.
Scary.
But really fast as well.
Yes.
So these hooks on chains just come out of nowhere and start latching onto his skin.
And I will say the hooks going into the skin looked a little unbelievable.
The skin didn't look real. It looked like those things that people use to like do like fake operation stuff on, like latexy, rubbery thing. Yeah,
like practice tattoos.
And stuff. That type of stuff.
That fake skin.
Yeah, I don't know what else to call it.
Which is probably what it was.
Or like, have you seen those things that people have nowadays? And it's like
the pimple
popper thing, and like fake, but that's what it looked like to me. Yeah. But he ends up getting hooked and chained, and we see these what we later on figure out are Cenobites, and we have a few different ones right at this point, or is it just Pinhead.
I think, well, for sure we're getting Pinhead.
Yeah.
I don't remember if the other ones were
I thought
really
I saw
there.
the girl at first, but maybe not. It could have just
like-
been Pinhead.
My favorite one is the little teeth one.
I forget he has a name. It has an actual name, Bitey or something like teeth related, munch related.
So clever.
And so we have them showing up, and
It looked like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre
it
room.
kind of did, yeah.
A little bit. I was like,
Because he puts all the people. My throat is so dry today. I'm so sorry, you guys. He puts. It seems like they have like body parts and stuff that are like all on these.
Yeah,
chains.
you see like an ear. There's like this one weird big column that's
spinning around.
Yeah, spinning around, and it's got things protruding from it. And there's like an ear hanging from one of the nails. You're just getting a whole bunch of body parts.
Yeah.
And I love the little puzzle of his face that they put together.
That they like pulled all the skin off essentially.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, that was good. And also, you want to talk about some gore?
Yeah, it was pretty gory.
Some fucking blood,
It's
and
pretty
you're
gross.
getting body like, damn. This man has been absolutely destroyed.
Like into pieces.
Yeah,
literally.
like with
barely
you can't even tell that this was really a human until you start
putting it all
putting
together.
all the because there's no like here's a leg over here, like it's like he exploded from the inside out.
That's a really
It's
good
just
way to
like,
put it out. Yeah, that he exploded.
Yeah.
And at this point, we're like, okay, he's dead. He's dead. Like that's dead. But it doesn't really give like any explanation. It's just kind of feel like it's a very shocking way to like get the audience in on like, okay, what the fuck is going on?
What the fuck is happening?
Because then we turn totally like 180 to like a couple coming into a house, and they're obviously scoping it, trying to like they're moving in.
Yeah.
Essentially, we have Larry trying to convince Julia that like we should move here. Like this was my childhood home.
Yeah.
And why did they have to come back? I forget. I don't even think we get an explanation.
He got a job.
Okay.
That I think was better for him. And then, he's basically trying to convince her. She's like, the moment she walked in, she was like, smells damp. And I was like, well, yeah, there's mold in the corner behind you, and then water damage
the whole house is
literally everywhere
dilapidated.
else.
Yeah.
They didn't even really try to
fix anything.
I was like, y'all need
They were just living there.
These walls are like
half done.
Ugh.
Holes.
Yeah. I'm surprised y'all were able to walk through the house and not fall.
And we have him just kind of talking about his brother, who he mentions, Frank.
Emotionally unattached.
Oh, yeah. Because he's kind of just basically ragging on his brother, shit talking him. And
saying that he wanted to sell this place after the old lady died, as in their mom.
Yeah.
And then Frank was like, no, we can't.
Yeah.
And then now that Frank's been missing for 10 years, I think is what
something
it is.
like that.
It's supposed to have been a long time.
Then his explanation was like, I don't know, he's in jail or something somewhere. I don't know.
I'm like, okay. I mean, I
there are some
understand
dysfunctional families
that have that much
just
of a
no talk, no connection whatsoever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was like willing. He was like, well, we're just gonna get rid of all this shit anyways. And she was like, isn't half of it Frank's? And he was like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And he basically was just like,
which she's already kind of showing like some interest in Frank in a way that like, or not interest, but like she seems to care about Frank, even though it seems as if she doesn't know who Frank is.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what she's playing on.
Yeah, because the way he's describing Frank to her, it's as if she's never met him.
Yeah.
Which I was like, did Frank not actually show up to the wedding? Did he just fuck her on her wedding dress and leave?
That's what I was wondering.
That was savage.
He did
when he
show
laid her
up.
down on
Did he not?
the wedding dress.
Yeah, no, that was savage. But that is
it was
weird.
the night before, at least.
It was the night before. I don't know. That's weird because remember, Frank, when he introduced himself later on, when he first sees her, he's like, aren't you going to let me in?
Yeah.
I'm Brother Frank. I came to your wedding.
Yeah.
I
think he was saying, I'm like came here for your wedding.
Oh.
I think the wedding was about to happen. I don't think they were technically married yet.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
that's why I think, because whenever they started
that
fucking,
makes sense.
the
Yeah,
wedding
the
dress,
wedding dress was there.
And I think she had it laid out to
get in the next day,
Yeah.
essentially. So anyways, we do have them scoping the place out. She's looking around and goes off screen. We do have Larry going into the kitchen, and there's like maggots and flies and roaches because there was like food left out.
It
And
was
it just
so
looks really, it's like
gross.
not even just regular, it's like intentional almost, it seems like, or maybe because there's evil in the house. It's just
That
like
it's just
super rotted.
and-
Yeah, and there's just maggots and all these roaches
You really
and stuff.
dislike maggots, right?
I don't like maggots.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who does.
Yeah,
but
they're gross.
whenever this scene came on, I was like, "Ooh, Josh must be hating this."
Yeah, I mean,
because it was nasty. They were just like,
yeah.
everywhere.
It's just, I don't know. I guess because I know it, like they're little fly babies, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just seems really gross. I just couldn't imagine them being like all over me, like people do for Fear Factor and all that.
Oh yeah, hard pass.
No.
It's like they're like little mealworms,
Yeah,
kind of, but
ooh,
slimy.
those little worms that like when you're a kid and like digging in the ground, and those like that's mealworms, the puffy white ones. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh.
They're like huge. They're grubs.
Grubs.
They're so disgusting.
I never found a grub. That's
They're
like some Lion King shit.
So disgusting. Well, I
They
mean,
eat them.
yeah. I know what you're talking about. But like the baby white grubs, I don't know.
Baby white grub. Ugh. Well, all the while, as you're finding a picture of the grub,
They
to
look
show
like
me.
this.
Oh.
Disgusting.
Oh. Yes.
Do you know what that is? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, they're one of two species of scarab beetle known as the June beetle.
God,
And the
yeah.
masked they turn into June bugs?
That's what turns into June bugs, I guess. Yep.
What? June bugs are
I
pretty scary
hate
too.
finding those because I would dig in the dirt a lot, and yeah, this is what they would look like. They would like
Okay, yeah, I've seen those.
and they're squishy, and they would freak me out.
Squish, squish, squish. I would find earthworms.
Oh yeah,
You
cut
ever
them
read
in
the
half.
book How to Eat Fried Worms?
Nuh-uh.
Oh.
I've never
It's
heard of
a
that.
weird book I had to read.
People
once.
would really fry them. I mean, people do that in
I
some
think
other
it was
cultures.
just like a children's book.
Like
that
like
was- they were-
don't feed someone green eggs or something like that,
Yeah.
or don't give a moose a cookie.
Or mouse a cookie,
Yeah, all of those.
a moose a muffin.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Why did muffin and moose, but not mouse and cookie?
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Like
why couldn't it have been mouse and
magazines. I don't know. Don't give a mouse a magazine.
he will read it all day and then he'll eat it and make a bed.
Don't give a mouse a musical instrument.
Boop, 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 toot toot. But there's a lot of religious iconography throughout the house too, and like a lot of this honestly reminded me of Carrie in some parts because of just like all the weird, like that light up Mother Mary on the mantle.
Oh yeah. Like going up the stairs, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it all just kind of reminded me of. It gave me Carrie
the religious
vibes.
stuff that was, and the house itself, like
and
all
then whenever
wooden
the
and
house
stuff.
started
That's
kind of
true.
I was like, oh, this house about to get sucked up Carrie style.
Yeah, it is. And so we do have what's her name, Julia, upstairs. She ends up finding some stuff. She sees that what's his face, Frank, was essentially squatting.
Yeah,
But she doesn't think it's, well, I think she knows that it's Frank, but when she calls Larry up, she's like, was someone squatting? And then I guess he goes out, but that's whenever she like looks at the pic, like she finds a box and she sees that there's pictures in there of Frank with other women like having
Fucking
sex.
people.
Yeah.
and then like some of them are in masks.
Yeah.
Right?
It's very,
I thought someone had a mask on, and
I don't-
or maybe it was just super dramatic makeup.
I think
But-
it was, there wasn't a mask.
Oh.
But dramatic makeup. It gave like BDSM and like stuff, although his clothes were on.
Maybe that's his kink.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of BDSM, like
There's
if
a-
he was like the master kind, could be in a suit.
That's true.
I'd be down for that.
And so that's whenever we do have her stealing the picture of Frank, that just is more of his face and not necessarily the sexual stuff going on.
Yeah, so like
she's
the only
being a
one where
little-
he's
yeah.
looking right into the camera.
And she's being a little sus right now. She's being a little suspicious, a little bit odd, I would say.
From the host of the popular podcast, The Only One in the Room, Stash by Laura Cathcart Robbins is a propulsive and vivid memoir about the journey to sobriety and self-love amidst addiction, privilege, racism, and self-sabotage. Best-selling author Holly Whitaker calls it an irresistibly delicious story, and MacArthur Foundation fellow and best-selling author Kiese Lehman says Stash is emotionally riveting. Buy Stash by Laura Cathcart Robbins now, wherever books are sold.
Hey there, homeowners. Is it time to give your yard a complete makeover this summer? Villani Landshapers, a local family-owned business, has been transforming landscapes for more than 20 years. Villani Landshapers specializes in landscape design build, retaining walls, outdoor living spaces, and so much more. Request your free consultation today and check out their gallery of residential work at villani-landshapers.com.
She's acting odd. She's acting weird. Okay, and so
I was like, your mom?
No, Miss Julia.
Julia.
And so we do have.
It is hella creepy. Like how she was keeping his picture. It's like, ooh.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I was like,
weird.
he does look pretty
well
damn
because
attractive.
he does, but
But also that's like,
it's just weird. That's your husband's brother. Okay.
Especially whenever you see her rip the photo in half.
But
later.
obviously, it's already giving like something's
them.
weird.
Yeah.
Something's off. She knows him somehow.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get like though where it went. I thought like maybe she met him before.
Yeah,
and then
that's what
like
I
he
thought, too.
disappeared, and then she just ended up. Well, if I can't have Frank, I'll take the brother.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And so Kirsty ends up showing up.
Yeah, she calls and basically says like, I got a room. I'm not going to be staying with y'all. I don't want to stay with you.
And essentially before that, I guess we did see there were weird looks between the movers and like the mom and Miss Julia, and it feels like she kind of is just
yeah,
slutty.
we're at that part, yeah.
Like just kind of sends vibes to everybody.
Yeah.
And Larry's not aware.
Well, and then also, I mean, I don't know. I think also those men were just gross.
They're perps, yeah.
Because they also hit on the daughter.
Yeah.
Which was like, she's clearly very young. And
But she gave to me like she's in her 20s, no?
Yeah,
she gave
but
me like college age.
Early 20. Yeah, like very, like maybe 19 or 20. She gave very young to me.
It's true.
And I don't know. And then also just the way that they were like, you got any beer? And she was like, yeah, it's in the fridge. And then he was like, well, I guess I can get it. And I was like, yeah, she's not your fucking servant.
Yeah. But it was also the 80s.
Yeah, it's
It's
true.
a little
but
different.
I don't give a fuck.
Well, yeah.
Good for her for not doing it.
But it was, but like the time period, I feel like that was usually like, wife gets a beer for the men kind of thing, But you're right.
Kudos
I mean,
to her
yeah.
for leading.
I'm glad that we've evolved
pack.
as a society a bit.
But it's also clear that she just didn't really give two shits.
Oh yeah,
about him.
she doesn't care.
And especially now that Frank is back on her mind.
She's not disassociated, but like has really like just does not have the love for Larry, and it shows like in every interaction that they basically have.
Yeah, it seems like they're just really like kind of putting up. Well,
in a
she's
stale
putting
marriage.
up with him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she's not really happy.
No.
And so Kirsty's here. She's like trying to talk to Dad. She is gonna make herself some coffee. And ends up like getting wet because she doesn't know how to work or the faucet's not working.
I like how whenever she goes past and then the dad, they were like, oh, she gets her looks from her mom, and he was just like, her mom's dead.
Yeah.
I was like, oh damn.
Awkward. And so it's like walking up to someone and being like, congratulations on your pregnancy, and they're not pregnant.
Yeah. Or saying like, how are you and your partner?
And they're no longer
broken
together.
up. Yeah.
Oh, I did that the other day. I told a dude who came into my job, I was like, oh, hey, because I hadn't seen him since last year. I was like, say hi to your wife for me. And he's like, oh, we're divorced now. And I'm like, oh, my bad. Okay. Well,
awkward.
could have worn a label on that said divorced. So I didn't say that.
So I don't ask you. Gosh, be more considerate.
Right? And so she ends up trying to make that coffee. She gets wet. At the same time, simultaneously, we're getting Julia looking at the picture of Frank and
getting a flashback.
I
said, what in the porno is this? I felt like a good classic porno.
Yeah.
She opens the door. He's standing there, arms like
Hot
on
and
either
bothered.
side, and he's just dripping wet.
Yeah.
And I didn't like how he said, I'm Brother Frank. I was like,
That was
what are
weird.
you, a fucking
Like it sounds
preacher?
church related.
Yeah. Which was maybe intentional.
But I mean, he was the brother.
Yeah. And then he was like, aren't you going to let me in? And she was like, already from the get-go was in a trance.
Yeah, that's true.
He had her captivated from the moment she opened that door.
Well, I mean, he's hot.
Yeah.
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 He's clearly the hot brother.
Yes.
and
more exciting because the other one
That's
felt
true.
so like
a cookie cutter.
tight-laced. Yeah.
He was like
Very-
the bad boy, you know? I mean,
Which is what everyone goes for.
Yeah. And so that's also why at this point she does end up going upstairs because Kirsty came to like get a towel, and she ends up just basically trying to avoid Kirsty because Kirsty does see her, but for some reason Julie ends up going up and acting like she's not there.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really weird.
It was.
And even Kirsty's like, I know you're fucking right there.
Yeah, because she hears the floorboards
Creaking,
crack.
yeah.
And I don't know if she's like actually straight up looking at her. I think she's standing beneath her looking. They're both looking out that way. But she clearly knows that she's up there.
It's a big ass house
and
too.
Just, yeah, it really is. I would live in this house.
I was like, how many fucking rooms does this place have?
I mean, 3 in the attic.
It gave like Hey Arnold.
Oh.
I think I've mentioned that before, but like what are those type of housings called? Like not like an apartment building, but like a
communal. I don't know.
Yeah, something. Because they all share the same space.
Yeah.
But yet they all, yeah.
Oh, like with a shared living space.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's how they did it in Hey Arnold too.
Yeah. Kind of like a little, I was thinking like the brownstone that we stayed in New York and Brooklyn. Each little room had like its own kitchen, tiny kitchen, and like a shower and a closet and like enough space for the bed. But then there was a downstairs area that was like more shared stuff.
Like dining,
yeah,
like communal living room-ish type of stuff.
Yes.
Like a rec room.
Yeah, kind of. And so it could have definitely, because this one went up, I think 4 floors. And then there were 3 rooms off of every floor.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
That we could see.
Yeah.
3 rooms. There could have been more.
That's true.
And so we do have her, Miss Julia goes up to the attic. And she goes up there, and that's when we have even more of the flashback with Mr. Frank and how she does let him in, and she ends up there like in the bedroom, and
he
like
cuts her clothes off.
He cuts her clothes
off. That was really fucking hot.
He ends
whenever
like
he flipped out the knife, I was like, oh fuck, like what the hell? Because she said, what about Larry? And he was just like, I was like, damn, he gonna kill his brother for this bitch he just met?
Because he was like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes or something like that. Yeah.
And then, but then when he cut it off, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, damn.
That's badass.
Damn, that's really good.
And so, okay, Andrew, if you're listening, get a knife and cut off Caitlin's clothes. Okay. And so we then have her go. We see the whole affair happening with Frank. He lays her down on the wedding dress, like we said a while ago, and they end up making love at the same time that Larry's downstairs trying to like push a bed upstairs with the moving guys, and they're like, you push, I pull, and he's making grunting noises, and it's cutting to his wife Julia making grunting noises with Frank,
getting fucked by his brother. And then she looks like she's about to get off by memory alone, just standing there
she's
up in the
hot
attic.
And bothered.
She is. And I honestly loved this scene. I thought it was so good, the transition between the knife or the bed and everything, and then them doing it.
Have I ever seen anything like it ever? No,
and it was good. And then whenever, and oh god, in the anticipation of seeing his hand get closer to that nail, I was like, and then it happened.
And then he gets his hand sliced, which is pretty deep because, and he does have like I forget what it's called, but a phobia of blood. And so as he's trying to make his way upstairs, you can already tell he's trying not to look at his hand. He's like already kind of like,
he's definitely woozy.
Yeah, he's
about
woozy.
To pass out.
And he's telling Julia, like, look at it. You know how I am with blood. And as he walks into the room, we do see that his blood is falling onto the floor and it's hitting the floorboards, and it's like very dramatic because we hear like the splashes as it's hitting. She gets a fucking, I don't know where the fuck she got this little tissue from, like nowhere. She just like goes to the side and just like, oh, there's bandages, there's tissue.
I wonder if it was the same towel that what's her face was. I don't know.
But she would have had that. Right? Kirsty would have had that.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Did they make it down the stairs at that point? I don't remember. Maybe not.
Kirsty or Julia?
No, Julia and Larry.
No, they're in the attic.
Okay,
they're still in the attic. They're still in the attic room, and because more of his blood is falling, and that's whenever we do see that the floor drinks it up. Very like
and
smart
it seems
house.
to go kind of it centers around the nails as well. There's a lot of nail imagery in this movie, which I also could lead back to the cross.
It's true.
And then also
he was
Pinhead.
nailed boom. Yeah. And so we do have this like heart underneath the floor.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
coming to life.
And it gets awoken by the blood, and you just hear like the heartbeat, and then it fades to, or it doesn't fade, but then it goes to, you know, them coming downstairs, and that's whenever Kirsty, I keep wanting to call her Christy, but her name's Kirsty. Kirsty is like checking it out, and they're like, they need to go to the hospital, go get it bandaged up.
And I just want to say the practical effects on his hand were really good.
Mm-hmm.
The way that whenever she like holds it out and she goes, I think this is gonna need stitches. And I was like, oh fuck, that's gonna need stitches. But the way that his hand was just sliced right there, and then it was like, you know,
and that's a part
it was
like,
pulsing,
and you have to move your hand in that direction. That must hurt.
Oh yeah, no, you get cut right there. That's some pretty serious damage.
Yeah, it looked like nerve damage could have happened.
Oh yeah,
but
the way the blood was coming out was just really good. That was the first time that I was like, damn, these practical effects are good. Mm-hmm. And then I just continued to say it throughout the movie. Every time I was like,
they get better and better and better.
That's good. Yeah.
And we do have them after this leaving to go to the hospital, get bandaged up. The floorboards start squeaking. We do see these blue lights start coming through the floorboards as well.
Ooze is seeping up through it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like corn syrup.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it's very sticky looking.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever I'm like, what the fuck? Because this whole like skeleton starting with like the legs, right? Or
I think it was the arms.
It is the arms. You're right. They come out and then they end up like pulling the rest of it out.
But whenever it first came out, it did look like a little leg.
Yeah.
Because it was just like a straight
femur. Mm-hmm.
And then a little like nub on it. And then it went.
And so we basically see this whole scene of a body reanimating itself, coming back to life, but like just the insides, like the bones, the guts, the brain.
The brain. Yeah, we started seeing that
coming together.
And it was really
really cool. Yeah,
it looked like filmed
stop
in reverse.
motion or almost as well. Stop animation, like very like cut to the next scene. Yeah.
There's a lot of the movie that looks like it could have been also filmed in reverse or stop motion, like with the blood that goes into the IV drip at one point.
That's true.
And then the flower unraveling and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. That was a really cool transition.
Yeah, I really liked. I liked a lot of those scenes.
There's a lot of like stylistic choices in this movie.
Yeah, very artistic.
Yeah, very
and
much
I felt like definitely
for a horror movie.
What was being done at that time. This was like, this was elevated horror whenever. And that to an extent. And Clive Barker like talked about that a lot because they wanted, this came out. One of the facts I read about it was cool. It says, according to Clive Barker, as the writing of Hellraiser script took place during the height of A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and Halloween film series, his intended portrayal of Pinhead as an articulate and intelligent character was initially not well received by the producers. Some suggested that Pinhead should act more like Freddy Krueger and crack jokes, which that would have been awful.
Have been great.
And then while others suggested that he be a silent character like Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers.
And not speak at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Barker insisted that Pinhead's personality be more evocative of Christopher Lee's portrayal of Count Dracula. Part of the chill of Dracula surely lies in the fact that he is very clearly and articulately aware of what he is doing to you. And that's like, I mean, that is kind of terrifying. And he says it's one of the reasons like why Hannibal Lecter is scary, isn't it? It's because you always feel that he's going to be 3 jumps ahead of you.
Yeah.
Which I was like, that's really good. And yeah, it does make him that much more terrifying.
Because it's also, like you said, he is aware of what he's doing. So like,
it's just he wants to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's dark.
It kind of takes the like the fantasy. Well, it is super fantasy. My bad. It takes the, Michael, Freddy, the jokes, especially with Freddy. Like it can take you out of the element of like, well, this is a really freaky, scary, horrifying thing. Like there's no levity. There's no comedy to like really, make it lighthearted at any way.
No,
it's just like
this movie's just dark.
Yeah.
It's just dark. And it's like,
but like also in a way that's like really beautiful. That makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah, beautifully dark.
Like the dream sequence with the girl with Kirsty and the feathers and stuff.
Yeah.
Also Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, yeah. I feel that.
That scene was fucked up and beautiful. I loved it. I was a big fan.
And cutting after to his recreation, Frank, we do cut to a dinner scene. And it's, Larry and his friends. We do have someone who is Kirsty's age. What's his name, Steve? Or
I
don't remember.
Something like that. All I know is I was like, ew, why did this kid eat that cigarette?
And so
whenever he like flipped it into his mouth, I was like,
yeah. We have him kind of putting on the Mac talk with Miss Kirsty. Somehow he poured a drink in her cup, but he's like, and it seems like when it's shot that he's right in front of her, but he's literally like catty cornered to her.
Yeah,
Did you ever notice that?
I think it was the dad. I think it was his dad pouring that drink into her cup.
But they were putting the camera on the boyfriend? Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think you see him like kind of offer it, and then they like flash back to everything that's happening between her and the boyfriend, because then she's like, I won't be able to stand up. And then he was like, well, lay down.
Which is really weird to say in front of someone's father.
Parents. And then all the men started laughing, and I was like, oh my God.
But
Butterball Cinnabite.
Oh, the Butterball.
There's one. Sorry, I'm trying to look for his name.
Oh, it's okay. It's not like that detrimental to the story.
Yeah.
And so she.
I think it is Steve.
Miss. That's what I feel like. I'm recalling Steve for some reason.
But this is the picture for Steve.
That is definitely not Steve.
Not Steve.
And so we do have Miss Julia excusing herself
Chatterer.
from.
Chatterer.
Yeah, that's what it is. We do have Miss Julia going up to the attic once again after she's like excused herself, and like she ends up like saying goodnight to everybody super sweetly, but just like looks at Larry like, I hate you. Good night.
Not good night to you.
Yeah.
Good night, but also fuck you.
And so as she goes up to the attic, she hears this heartbeat in the room. It's surrounding her. And something kind of gives me that she was supernaturally like drawn up there at that moment as well.
Yeah, I think consistently she's drawn up there supernaturally because she feels Frank's presence. Yeah.
And so she ends up getting spooked by fucking Frank, who just kind of pops out, and he's really gross looking, obviously, because he's like,
Yeah, you see some rats eating his gunk, and then you pan
true.
over, and his little body's like on the floor, and he's just like, blah, blah, blah,
and he's just like, don't look at me. Don't look at me.
The way he said that so many times, I was like,
yeah,
ugh.
I'm gonna look, boss.
Yeah,
and so
you can't tell me not to look. Now I'm gonna look.
She's just like freaking out because he's just telling her, don't look at me and you're gonna help me, and she's like, who the fuck are you? And he's like, it's Frank.
Can't you tell?
Brother Frank. And so she is pretty
rightfully so terrified.
Yeah. It's like a good depiction though of like, she's really fucking spooked, but she's also like,
oh fuck,
this is Frank. Yeah. So she's like entertaining, like not just running away.
I know.
Essentially.
I thought I was like, damn.
Yeah.
I hope she don't
die in this moment.
No, I was sitting there.
Fuck him.
Yeah. Because later on, whenever he touches her with his
really
little
gross.
bloody hand, I was like, and she like kind of puts his finger in it. I was like, bitch, this is
gross. But
this is a human with no skin.
Yeah. But essentially sex, so you do lick the insides of people.
That's true, but
yeah,
it feels different.
It's gross. More gross when it's just like a fleshy. It's basically
just
Mr.
blood.
Krabs without a shell.
Yeah. Just this little like
squishy,
or like a turtle.
You see, he looks very much like those things in a science class that represent like the muscular system in a body.
The muscular, and then we get the cardiovascular. Once she's killed one, you see his little blood veins and stuff. And he says his nervous system comes back.
Yeah, because he's in so much pain. But we do cut back downstairs to Miss Kirsty. Excuse me, sorry.
She's drunk and heading upstairs.
She's had a little too much. And that's whenever we do have, for some reason, I put Julia is acting suspicious.
Yeah, because basically he is saying, like, as she's stumbling upstairs, we flash back to Frank saying, the blood brought me this far. You have to heal me. And then as, like, you see her kind of being like, okay, so, like, we're going to have to give you more blood. And then we see, Kirsty getting closer up the stairs, further up the stairs. And at this point, I was like, damn, is she going to kill her own stepdaughter?
That's what it gave. Like,
it really did. And then she kind of like blocks her from going up any further too, and that's why she was being like acting hella suspicious.
She's acting really, really like on edge. And so that's whenever we do cut to Kirsty with Mr. Steven. I guess they went out or something after the fact. because they're hanging out and they're kind of talking.
And going back to her place because she doesn't live there.
That's true.
And this is where we get our first encounter with the person, the creepy
the hobo
man
guy.
watching.
Sorry, he might not be homeless. I'm sorry.
Now, he is credited as the derelict.
Oh. What does that word mean?
I don't know, but I feel like it's probably not a good word. Derelict.
Like a
In poor condition as a result of disuse and neglect.
okay, yeah, like a vagrant type of situation. Is that what they're trying to like give the derelict?
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
a person without a home job or property.
Gotcha.
So
The
a
derelict.
homeless man.
Yeah. Which I don't know in what is the correct term to refer to someone who doesn't have a home.
Yes. So we're gonna say creepy man. Because
Creepy man.
he was creepy.
Because regardless of home or not, he's creepy. That's
Yes,
true.
If he had a house, still would have been creepy with the
Without a house,
what
got a
he
house,
does.
no house, creepy, creepy, creepy.
Anyone
And
was looking at me that way and then came in and ate a handful of bugs.
oh yeah, that's true.
Fucking creepy.
So he ends up. They walk past him. She like kind of really gives a glance to this dude, and they like lock eyes, and he does have pretty eyes though. And so we do have her and Mr.
He had a very punchable face, though, right?
I don't know. I didn't recall
His
it being
face
punchable.
just was like,
I could punch anybody though.
Pah!
I feel like everybody deserves a punch for something.
good little punch. Everyone should be punched
A
in the
little
face
nudge.
once.
Yeah.
Humble yourself.
Everybody needs to be humble. That's what I was just thinking. And so we have a pretty cool, cute shot of Mr. Steve, that's going to be known as, and Kirsty walking in front of like these subway tile things, and they're have this little lovey-dovey flirtation thing going on, and they start kissing.
Making out.
And then I love how the camera panned from out of that into the next scene.
And homegirl is thinking about fucking Frank yet
Mhm.
again.
Yeah, she's thirsty.
And she basically goes back up to Frank and tells him once again, I'll do anything, whatever it takes. Like,
To save you.
yeah. And
Yeah.
because whenever he tried to leave her the first time, he said, what did he say? It's not enough. It's never enough. Whenever he was trying to leave her after they actually had sex the first time.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'll do anything. And then now she is still just,
She
even though
was
he's a weird little.
Dickmatized.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, the name What a Woman Would Do for a Good Fuck is very fitting for this film. Because, yes.
As if the McCrispy couldn't get any better, Bacon and Ranch just entered the chat. The Bacon Ranch McCrispy, available at participating McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This is my favorite part.
So after all of that shenanigans with Miss Julia talking to good old Gooey Frank, we have
Gooey Frank.
Kirsty having this nightmare.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And this was such an awesome scene.
Mm-hmm.
She walks in and there's like feathers everywhere. At first I was like, what the fuck is happening? And then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's a dream sequence. Okay.
Chicken feathers all around her.
Yes. Again, reminded me of Chicken Room
Mm-hmm.
and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But
Yeah.
feathers everywhere, blood, like all of a sudden we're looking at this body.
Yeah.
That's been shrouded,
Mhm.
got like a blanket over it. And you hear a baby crying
Yes.
all the while too. So I was wondering then if her mother died during childbirth,
Oh,
possibly.
could be.
And that was why there was the repetitive baby crying
Mhm.
sound around Kirsty.
Yeah.
But I don't actually know if that's true.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. But she basically, as we're watching this thing, and I love the way that at first you see a little bit of blood seeping through, but then the
Mhm.
camera pans behind her head and you can't really see how saturated the bed's becoming until the thing is covered in blood.
All of it.
And it was like, oh, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. I liked it. And then the body pops up. And who was it? Boy or was it her dad?
I thought it was her dad.
Okay. I thought
Yeah.
it was the boy at first. And then I was like, oh, wait, no. I think it's the dad.
But it
So
was that like bloody
Because
and
he woke
mutilated that you
up-
can't see.
Yeah.
That you can't really tell. But yeah.
I was like, it's definitely a
It could be
male.
both. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, because then he woke up, and so I was like, did Steve also had a bad dream? Like
Maybe, or
I wonder
maybe
if they were having a shared dream.
it could have been, or he's just woke up and just saw that she was having a really
dream.
bad dream because
Yeah.
she's obviously having a fit in bed. She's like, flailing and oh my God, oh no, no. And he wakes her up and she's like in sweats, and then she ends up calling her dad. God knows, like what, it's 3 a.m.
The way that whenever she was just looking like her eyes were focusing on boy Steve,
Mm-hmm.
the way that she just goes, "Daddy," I was like,
Yeah.
"Damn, is she calling him Daddy?" And then I was like, "Oh no, she's gonna go
She's
call
worried
her
about
dad."
But then at that point, because you didn't think that was her dad on the dream, like I already knew, like she woke up, like she's worried about her dad.
Yeah.
Something's happening to her dad.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think because at that point too, maybe she's getting this other sense of like, dad's gonna get hurt in that house.
Yeah.
You know?
something's wrong with Julia. She
Mhm.
clearly doesn't. She can feel that
The bad
Julia
presence.
doesn't like.
Yeah. And
Maybe isn't
it gives
as
that
into her dad.
it gives that her and Julia never even got along.
Mhm.
Yeah. Throughout the whole movie, And so we do have her calling dad, and dad's just like, I'm okay. I'm fine. Like, don't worry about me. And we do have the mom it's just Frank upstairs, and he's all slimy.
Yeah, Frank's like kind of moving from the attic. He's looking down as like Larry comes back up from answering the phone, and he's
Mhm.
just saying it's just Kirsty, like she had a bad dream
Mhm.
and stuff. And then she was like, okay, but Frank's just like kind of watching over
And it's
them,
like, Kirsty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
which was creepy.
Mhm. And so that's whenever we do have Miss Julia at a bar, and she's giving her, throughout the whole movie too, by the way, Julia's outfits, she's eating. She had like really nice like 80s businesswoman,
80s
like,
style.
power woman.
There was
outfits.
one point in the film where I was like, I feel like she's attractive, but the 80s also weren't doing her many favors
That I could see that
with her hair and
the
makeup.
hair, the makeup.
Because her body
Yeah.
was snatched.
Mhm,
Body
mhm.
was fine as fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I get it now. Why these people are like, she's
That was
hot.
her pussy.
Because with her face, I was like, there's just too much.
Well, and
on
she
it.
never. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And I
Too
feel like with
much.
a more relaxed hairstyle, she could have been much prettier. She did have very like strong features.
Very much so. And like, I guess what you just said, and the way that she acted throughout the whole movie, it just gave very like bitch vibes.
Yeah.
Resting bitch face at all times.
Mhm.
And I don't want to be that person that's like smile, but like, I mean, like,
The
if
only
there was
time-
some other levity to her, she could have maybe, her beauty could have been showcased better. I
Yeah.
feel like,
Yeah.
yeah. She was always just like in a very disdained mood,
And the only time that we truly ever did see her look like almost like
enjoying herself. She was moaning and having sex with Frank.
yeah, and whenever she opened the door to Frank,
Oh, yeah, that's
she
true.
looked
Mhm.
giddy and very childlike in nature,
Like a schoolgirl crush.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
in that moment. And then every other time, it's bitter.
Mm-hmm.
Which is-
very bitter. Not a good look for anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look like you're constipated.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. And
smells
so
some bad.
she ends up meeting this guy at the bar.
He's really ugly.
He's really ugly.
I'm
He gives her
sorry.
a little pickup line, and then she takes him home. And
And I kept like, ugh, ew, the whole time because he was saying the cringiest things.
Oh, yeah.
Like don't tell me you fucking changed your mind. I was like,
yeah,
bitch.
yeah.
And then I was like, this motherfucker deserves to die. Kill him.
This is before the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
And so, but like men are always assholes. Men still do this to this day, Caitlin.
I know.
Men don't
I was
take no for
thinking
an
about
answer.
that as I was driving home because I feel like I just had like a playlist going and an artist came on who I'm pretty sure had some sort of scandal
Mm-hmm.
and allegations and stuff
Yeah.
against him. And then I was like, ew. I was like, ew, people
Not
still
me-
do this.
Not me jamming to the song, knowing you're
Oh, I changed it.
yeah. Whatever it is, but yeah. And so she ends up bringing him upstairs, of course, because that's where Frank is. And before they can like get to it, well, I mean, it seems like foreplay because she's like making him take off his clothes. He's like, you do the same. And that's whenever Frank pops out and he freaks out and he's like by the door, right? Or that is a different guy.
Yes, that's a different guy.
My bad.
But she does hit him
in the head with a hammer.
in the head with the hammer.
Yes.
And then hits him again in the jaw and like makes his mouth be like blah blah.
Yeah.
And he's dead before he ever sees Frank.
That's true. He's already on the ground, and
Yeah.
he looks pretty bad. The special effects are pretty cool.
They
Practical
were.
effects.
I
yeah.
really liked him there.
They're
His
practical, not special.
mouth-
My bad.
And I'm not even a fan of people getting hit in the head,
Mhm.
but I loved that it did not give me a close up look of the hammer
Mhm.
hitting his head.
Mm.
But then afterwards, the way his jaw was just like
yeah.
open, gross. and awesome. They did a great job with it.
And Frank comes out and he's like, dinner time. And he's like, don't look at me once again.
He drinks him like a little, oh, wait, no, that's later. It's the second guy that
Yeah.
he drinks like a little straw.
And so because
sucks
we
it all
this one
up.
we don't necessarily see because she goes out of the room. He's doing his thing. And that's whenever we do have
I called him Little Frank.
Little Frank. Aw.
Little Frank crawling over. Little baby has his first steps.
Because remember, oh, that's true, because he was all like the way he moves. And so after that, she goes back in and the body's like basically a prune. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's all up. And
It has been sucked dry.
yeah. And so she ends up
Looks like some beef jerky. Been sitting there, but also bloodied.
and it's so crazy because at the same time that she's trying to like clean up, Larry's getting home.
Mm-hmm.
And so she just essentially moves one body to another room, which I'm like, what? That makes no sense. So
I
she
know.
just moves it to like the room across the way.
I was just like, damn girl, what do you plan to do with that?
She was like, I'll get it later.
I was like, someone is
And
gonna
she's
find
like
that.
in her bra, her like doesn't
Yeah,
have her
she's in her
top
little
on.
negligee.
Yeah.
And this is where she goes back in. And the first time that he was like, Frank was like, because he's slightly more formed now and he's
Yeah.
able to fully like stand up. And he's like, come here, damn you. I want to touch you. And
Mhm.
he says, come to daddy. Then he grabs her boob
Yeah.
with his hand. I was like, ew.
And and she ends up getting out and she is trying to like slip away from Larry because he's going up the house. He hears her obviously, and so he's trying to find her. She goes into this restroom and she's just, you know, trying to clean herself up. But it also kind of seems like she's just kind of got a thrill out of the murder in a way. Like she got off on it somehow and getting off on Frank. And
She's like, my boobie just grabbed by him.
and so she ends up, you know, telling Larry through the door, the restroom, she's like, I'm feeling sick. And I love how she's like, aw, babe. And he's, you know, trying to be nice. Can I do anything for you? And she's just like, no. And then-
Brandy would help. And
yeah.
I was like, I don't think Brandy's going to help with you feeling sick.
yeah.
But okay.
And then maybe it's like a hot toddy. I don't know. But she ends up going back up there. He's talking to her and he's like, I need more bodies. I need more blood.
He says one more, maybe two.
Because I think this is the part is when he said he's hurting.
Yes.
Yeah. And his nerves are like coming back together.
And he says the Cenobites. This is where we get, I think, the
that's right, the
first
first mention.
word, a mention of the Cenobites and their name. And he says that he needs to get away because they're going to come back for him. The moment they realize that he is gone, they're going to be back. And then Larry's like coming up and he's saying like, you know, Julia, where are you? And then Frank says, poor Larry, obedient as ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way that I think he grabbed her again and
Mhm.
he says, it'll be like love, only real. And I was like,
Gross.
what?
Yeah.
Like love, wouldn't it just be love then?
No, just like he can't ever feel real love.
Yeah, no, he can't. There's at one point in the movie where I was like, girl, he is
Using you. Mhm.
And then whenever she gets dead, I was like,
Yep. Could have told
knew
you
it.
that.
this guy's toxic.
He is bad news, sweetie.
Mm-hmm.
He's a cowboy Casanova.
That's right.
in the words
Pinhead's
of
really
Carrie
just,
Underwood.
and that's true. There's another artist I like that has a song called Casanova.
Oh
It
yeah,
says Cowboy Casanova in it as well.
really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, not as well known as Carrie Underwood.
I mean, she is America's Idol,
it's true.
number 7 or something like that. I don't even
I
know.
was like, which one did she? I remember voting for her.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would call in.
yeah. That's I
Would
never
you call
voted for
in?
anybody, but I remember
Oh.
people voting. Yeah,
I would like religiously
a
call
thing.
in.
I mean, the only idol that matters is Kelly, though.
That's true.
To BH.
That's true. But okay, never mind.
Okay, so we're at the animal store and we're with Kirsty now. She's at work, obviously. There's like some bitch who's like trying to speak with the manager and she's
Oh my
like, well, he's not
goodness.
here
What a
right now. Something was happening with her bird or whatever. I don't even know. It was a lizard. I wasn't paying attention to
It's
her
a
because
bird.
at the same
It was a
time
bird.
we have the dude she saw earlier come in.
Creepy man.
Creepy man, and she ends up like trying to like, you know, she dismisses that lady who was talking to her, and even the lady's like, well, what the fuck? And so that's whenever she goes to the dude and she's like, what are you doing in here? And he just like starts to like grab all those crickets from the enclosure that they're in and just starts eating them.
Eating
And I love how
them.
she's like, stop that.
Whole
Don't do that.
handfuls.
Oh my God, get out of here. And
Yeah.
she's just like, ugh. Yeah, And so she does
didn't-
get him to leave.
Which was surprising.
With just her words.
Considering that. But yeah.
He
it was
like
such a
walks away
creepy-
so creepily and slowly, like, yeah.
And she's just like following behind him, looking
Mhm.
very like grumpy.
Yeah. she definitely was a little put off by the way he was eating those crickets.
Yeah, I would be too. Anybody eating crickets? No.
And then we cut to Miss Julia getting another dude back into the house.
And she kills. This one happens much quicker.
Yeah, very
fast. We don't get no foreplay. We see him come upstairs, and then wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
And then that's whenever even he's like yelling at her, begging for her, like, don't let him kill me or something like that. And then this is the guy who gets sucked away like a straw.
Yep.
And Frank is getting like more and more put together.
And I was so confused because then afterwards you see Frank wearing clothes, and I was like, bro, why are you wearing clothes when you're still slimy?
Yeah.
Like,
because nobody wants to see that.
You just see it like seeping through the shirt.
Yeah.
And I was like, you also chose like an ivory colored shirt out of all the shirts.
Yeah.
At least get something red.
Something that would like not look like
Black.
You're getting through it. Yeah. And so we do have Miss Julia being at this point, like you said that you would give me an explanation. You owe me an explanation, like why, what happened. And he starts to explain about the puzzle box and how the Cenobites made him experience, pain and pleasure and the most like whatever.
Yeah, he says pain and pleasure indivisible. Like the most that he could ever experience.
Yeah, all at once, which is what the Cenobites are kind of basically all about, is just experiencing pain and pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says it opens the doors to the pleasures of heaven or hell, which they come back later, and whenever Pinhead's like, or one of them is saying, some think of us as demons.
Yeah.
Others angels. Yeah.
And so we do have her.
Like, damn, that's
basically
a fucked up person thinking they're angels.
Yeah. Angels in the Bible were essentially evil, like terrifying monsters.
Yeah, they're not pretty, glowing.
The demons are pretty. The like devil himself, Lucifer, like he's beautiful. Yeah. I don't know, but anyways,
and that's why we love it.
We love Satan, and so he ends up watching the boxing. Oh yeah, because at this point we cut to Miss Julia and what's his name, Larry, and there's like having downtime, and he's watching a boxing match, and he's like super into it, but he's like, if you don't want to watch this, we can watch something else.
I thought you didn't like this.
Obviously you're watching it, bro, and if you thought that she didn't like it, then why are you watching it?
Don't put it on to begin with.
There you go.
Watch it on your own time.
There we go. And so we do have he hears something upstairs, and so that's whenever he wants to go up, and she's like really doing everything to like not get him up there, and we do
even
have
sleeping with him.
Yeah, because she comes on to him.
We know she don't do a lot.
Yeah, she's gonna use a pussy, and so she ends up getting him into the bedroom, and that's whenever we do have she's essentially trying to get him to not go to the attic, so she thinks she's in the clear. But once they do get in the restroom, we do see that the whatchamacallit, Frank is in there, right? Because he passes by.
Whenever they get into the room. Oh man, and did those poor little rats that got like
there's some stabbed rats
nailed to the
wall.
And they were still alive. They were like meep, and I was like, no.
Yeah, poor things.
But yes, Frank is in their room because they're like making out, and I don't know how neither one of them didn't at least out of the peripheral see
that,
someone walking
hear
past
him. These floors are obviously very squeaky.
Yeah.
And he ends up in the closet, or like the boudoir, little what's it called? Lion, the Witch, and the wardrobe thing.
I think it was a closet.
Was it a closet?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it had those slatted doors.
You're right. You're right.
Closet-y.
And so they do very Michael Myers when she's in the closet. And so we do have them like kissing and stuff. He's like all over her, and then we have Frank coming, and he's got that knife that he had from the flashback, and he has a rat in one hand, and she's just like, no, don't do it, no, oh my god, no. And I mean, I
didn't understand why Larry wasn't stopping.
Yeah,
I was like, sir, how do you not?
He was still just going on, and she's just like, no, please don't do it. It's
I guess he never gets
like,
it, and he just like went
feral,
red. Yeah, just went.
She's even like, she says something. It's something to me like repulsing, or like something like not repulsing, but I can't stand it. Something like that.
Yeah, because I absolutely can't like handle that.
Frank is basically seemingly about to kill Larry, but he ends up just slicing a rat instead, like over the bed.
And the way that you see the knife like moving through that rat's body before it like finally breaks the flesh and that flap
and
it was so gross.
It was very gross.
And just twisted.
Yeah. I mean, because there was no reason to kill the rat like that.
Yeah, poor little baby.
And so we do have Larry's like, 1 minute you are all over me, and the next minute, like, you don't want anything to do with me. I don't understand you. And he goes out the room, and that's whenever Miss Julia and Frank start talking again. And she's just like, I guess, what's he saying? He says, I need more, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then I think this is where he says, but like, you don't even love him. Yeah. And she was like, I don't, but I can't let you do that.
Yeah. Not him, essentially.
Yeah,
so I'll
him.
get someone else. And so we do cut to Larry talking to Kirsty at some restaurant, and he's basically saying, like, there's something off with Julia. Like, can you please come over and just like try to be her friend? And
yeah, maybe she just needs someone to talk to because she's not leaving the house. And he says it's like she's waiting for something, and like because of that doesn't want to leave the house. Yeah. And so he was like, yeah, go stop by. Maybe she just needs some girl talk, basically.
And so we do have we cut to then Julia Kirsty is going to go speak to Julia, and she gets to the house and she's by a tree, but she does see that Julia brings in a man into the house. And so already from the get-go, she's like, well, that's weird. And then we have...
Because you can tell it's also not just any other interaction. The way she puts her hand on his shoulder and stuff, it's obviously
if she wasn't murdering with him, she's fucking him. And so either way, both are bad. Yeah. And so we do have Miss Kirsty getting closer to the house, and I'm pretty sure she hears the screams, right?
I think she does,
because what's his name? Frank ends up attacking the man and killing him, obviously. And then that's whenever we do have Kirsty walking in to the house.
Oh, this is the one he drinks like a straw. He puts his little fingers in.
You're right. And then that's whenever Julia's like hiding. Kirsty goes in there and sees the dead man that's on the floor, and she's freaking out.
Well, he comes out the door.
Oh, yeah.
Frank, she gets up to the attic door, and then the door opens, and
the dude's like asking for help. Yeah. And so first she sees that dude, and then she sees Frank.
Yep.
And then obviously she gets trapped into the room, and then Frank's like, "It's your uncle Frank," and
he's being so creepy.
Yeah, like a creeper. He's saying like, "Pedo
You've
uncle,
grown, you're beautiful," and I was like, "Ew, she is your niece."
Yeah, definitely the uncle that needs to be talked to.
It's such a sad reality.
But it doesn't. Yeah. And he obviously gives, like, he doesn't care. Like, he's been removed from their life as well. So he's just like, here's some flesh.
Yeah.
Some nice it's a younger Julia, essentially. And so they end up getting into like an altercation for the most part.
Yeah, because she's locked in there. She stabs him with her hand, like in his stomach.
Yeah, because he's not all the way put together. She like goes into his insides.
Doesn't have that epidermis to protect him.
And she ends up grabbing the box. And that's when he's like, no, please put that down. And she's like, you want it? Go and get it. And she ends up throwing it out the window.
Yeah.
And then she jumps out the window. No, just kidding. She runs out the house, and then she grabs the box and she's gone. So she stole the box, and we, what's his name? Frank is like, no. And
we get her just walking in this blood-covered daze, and she passes these nuns, and I was like, shouldn't those nuns try to have helped her? Both of them were like,
they're just judging her because she looks like she's been through it.
It was the Sister Act nuns. Whoopi was there.
Yep.
She said, we ain't got no time for it. I see that in Vegas all the time.
Literally. She's like, we're going to end up like her if we don't, get into hiding.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever she ends up waking up, and she's in what I'm assuming is an asylum or like a mental institution.
Yes, it didn't give normal doctor's office.
No, it didn't.
This gave some sort of institution.
Yeah. Because she ends up there in the bed after like they're talking to her, like, can you please like recall what happened? She's like, I don't know.
And this was where we got that first image of the flower opening.
Oh yeah,
because
right.
It was like
it
really
transitions into that.
On this, just the image of this red flower opening, which also it kind of gave very creepy like uncle vibe, like with that and everything, like she was the flower that had developed in Frank's mind. Anyways, that's what I got. And then it flashed to the TV screen, and that's where you see the nurse watching that video of just the flower unfolding, and I was like, what? Why am I watching that?
And because Clive Barker. And so that's whenever we do have her talking to them, and they give her the box, because he's like, maybe this will jog your memory. And so she ends up trying to open the box, essentially figure out the puzzle of it all,
because they've locked her in as well. They basically were like, no, you can't leave this room, like sit down. You can't, because
she wanted to talk to her dad, but she's like, they're like, no.
And she was like, it's important. They were like, well, we'll decide that after we talk to you. The police are going to want to talk to you too, so just sit here and stare at this box.
Mm-hmm.
But of course she starts touching it.
And it opens. She does like whatever to it, and it ends up opening up like a puzzle box does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's whenever we do see that like the floor and the walls, I mean, they start lighting up. And
Some Harry Potter shit.
Yeah, because the
opens this tunnel.
Door essentially opens up. You're right. It is a tunnel. And what does she do? She walks through it.
And there's like a baby crying from within. And I was like, why would you go towards creepy tunnel that just magically opened in the wall? I mean, I probably would too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd be like, oh, what the fuck is this? It looks scary.
I'm going to go in. And so she does go in. And that's whenever she gets just not even that far into it.
Well,
and
it seems like it is a really far way because of how long she has to run back.
That's true.
So I think maybe it either the tunnel like as she's running back.
Yeah.
Or it just didn't show us her first.
Like all the way walking and
in.
then we just cut to her running into a Cenobite.
Yeah.
A
this
monster?
weird bug creature.
Yeah.
It's like a scorpion mixed with
something.
What was that thing you just showed
me?
The
grub.
Grub.
Yeah, it does look like that.
Scorpion grub.
Almost like the thing from All Monsters with the dude that carries his own eyes. So you know what I'm talking about?
Oh.
Real Monsters. It was a cartoon, and he was like pink and fleshy looking, and he held his two eyeballs.
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about.
And then there was a skinny worm looking girl, and she had a big mouth. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that was the name of it. I've never watched it, I guess. I've seen that.
It was called Real Monsters.
Real Monsters. Clever.
Like and so we do have her running for her life. This is the only part of the movie where you do see like you can see the wheels and like the cart pushing the monster.
That is you can I think also
I don't think there was enough fog.
You can also see the crew doing it. That was a little mess up there that you can
essentially if they just had a little bit more fog underneath, you wouldn't have been able to see it.
When the engineer chases Kirsty, the trolley and crew pushing it are visible. At around an hour and 4 minutes. So that's then.
And I'm sure they couldn't edit that out anyway at that point.
Like,
they're just like, well, and they're like, we already shot it. We can't shoot it again. We're above budget. So that's it. Yeah.
I honestly didn't notice it because I was more like freaked out. I was like, girl, get away from that thing. It is gross looking. And it was getting close to her.
Yeah, it was.
But I'm sure if I went back and watched it again, I would be able to see it. But it was really creepy. She just barely escapes.
Yeah, and then the wall closes in on it, and she hears it on the other side. And that's whenever she's like back in the whatchamacallit.
Back in her room. And this is where we get those super artistic shots that we were talking about earlier. We're getting like shots of the wall and like the tile on it seems like
glowing,
turn sideways and then glow. And then there's that IV drip that's now filling with blood, which I feel like was filmed in reverse and stuff there. And then the TV with the flower going and stuff and then flipping between channels. All of it was really cool.
And we have the Cenobites appearing. We have like
Chatterer.
The Chatterer who comes up close to her on the wall, and he's like all up in her, shoving his fingers up in her mouth.
Fingies in her mouth.
There's a lot of fingers and mouth in this movie.
Yes.
And we have the lady Cenobite as well. I don't know if
that's the one with the neck hole open.
Yeah.
She got thyroid surgery.
That's what it gives. Or like, she had too many cigarettes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind. I'm sorry, I almost laughed.
And so that's whenever what's his name, Pinhead, comes up.
Yes.
And he starts explaining to her who they are. We are the Cenobites. You use the Mox as a means to summon us. We are demons to some, angels to others. We bring pleasure and pain. All these things. It's a very serious spiel.
And this is when I want to input my personal interaction with Hellraiser, with Pinhead.
Oh, yeah.
So, because this is, I think, our first like major scene with Pinhead, and we're getting like an idea of who they are, who the Cenobites are, and who Pinhead is. So, long before I ever saw Hellraiser for the like one time that I had, because honestly, going back into watching this again, it felt like a new time.
A new movie. Yeah. It's kind of same for me.
It has just been so long, and I haven't seen the remake. So I am excited
completely different
to watch that.
Yeah.
But the first time I ever encountered Pinhead, I was a very young child going through a haunted house, as I apparently did a lot, because my mom took us through, and it was myself and my two younger brothers. And
so they had to be little,
yeah,
right?
we were very young. And we were getting
She's
into
pushing
this.
a stroller through the fucking haunted house.
That'd be funny.
Okay.
She should have had us on those little child leashes, though, honestly. But we were like going through, and we get to this one part where Pinhead's at the end, and it's like he's in like that elevator kind of thing. Yeah. And but the actor sees that there's children with my mom and stepdad.
Yeah.
And so he just goes, hey, watch your step. It's about to get real tight around there. Because the next corner that you went through, the wall, like the ceiling started getting...
Does little.
Yeah, and so you had to like basically crawl, hands and knees, if you're an adult.
Yeah.
I think we were able to kind of just like hunch through because we were children.
Little.
But so to me, I thought Pinhead was a really nice man. I thought he was really good.
Aww.
And then
he was very respectful to you.
Yeah. I was like, wow, Pinhead's so kind.
Pinhead, essentially, too, in the movie. I mean, he's not like
honestly,
a bad guy.
Yeah,
he's just kind of
Frank,
doing his job.
Who is a bad guy?
He's just kind of doing his job.
Yeah,
essentially.
That's just what they're meant to do.
And so she ends up explaining to him like, y'all know Frank, y'all did this to him, and they're like, yeah, we know Frank. And she's just like, well, he escaped from y'all. And they're like, nobody ever escapes us. And she's like, well, I can prove it.
Yeah.
And so if y'all want to take me, I got a better deal. How about I give y'all Frank instead?
And then that's when Thyroid says, maybe we prefer you. And I was like, oh.
And then she has to like really be like, no, I know where he's at, and I can get him to you, and I can trade you. And that's whenever even Mr. Pinhead is like, you can do that. Yes, you can try. But if you fail, we'll tell tear your soul apart.
We will tear your soul apart.
And so
she sold Uncle Larry or Uncle Frank out so fast.
I mean,
I would too. But I was like, and then we flash back to Julia and Larry or Frank talking and saying, he was like, she's going to tell him everything. And she was like, I don't think she would. And he was like, no, she's going to tell him.
And so that's whenever they do come up with the plan to kill Larry. And not really a plan, but it's just kind of like silently spoken, like, okay, we got to kill Larry now.
Yep.
And so
we got to get out of here. I can't go walking around in this little
the way I'm looking
system.
And we don't even get to see Larry's death, which I'm kind of like bummed out.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, okay. Because then I'm like, oh, wait, it happened.
Because I was also confused. And so, I mean, it kind of clearly, whenever we did see Larry later, I was like, clearly this is Frank's mannerisms.
Yeah.
And I assumed he's just like wearing him like a little skin
face,
suit.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like,
because I was under the impression that Frank was snatching all these bodies and was gonna look like Frank again.
Yeah, me too. Not look like Larry.
And it just made no sense to me.
Because also I feel like all of Frank's appeal was his body.
Well, and that's what I meant. I was like, Julia must be pretty pissed off now that she gets
has to
Frank,
look at Larry
but
forever.
it's Larry. It's so weird, but yet she seemed happy about it. So I was just like, okay, this makes no sense.
Well, she got the best of both worlds, I guess.
I don't know,
but I would have
because
I would have wanted Frank's appearance and Larry. No, I just would have wanted Frank.
Yeah. So she ends up, Miss fucking Kirsty shows up to the house because this is right after as well. Sorry. He does end up, we see that he is in now Larry's body, and he's fucking Julia in Larry's body, which I thought was really weird too.
I didn't realize at that point
that it was not Larry.
Yeah. I thought that they were going to kill Larry that way. And so I thought that they were just fucking. And then all of a sudden, whenever Julia goes downstairs because she hears Kirsty come in, I was like, oh shit, is she just going to let him like go up? Like, what are they going to do? And then it wasn't until I saw how Larry was speaking to Kirsty that I was like, this ain't Larry.
Yeah.
This ain't Larry.
He talks just the way Frank does.
Yeah. And he was being like, real creepy,
cryptic, also as well, because Kirsty's trying to talk to him, and then I mean at that point I'm just like, how can she not tell that this is not her dad? But okay,
because there was just a nice around the hairline was just blood.
And so that's whenever
it's like a little puzzle.
She does end up catching on because I mean Frank gives it away because he's like almost proud of the fact that he took over Larry's body.
He's like, go look,
yeah.
go see, because he's telling her like, we've killed Frank, like it's over, it's
no, yeah,
done.
that's right. And
then she was like, I need to see.
So she gets up, she goes to the attic, but they trap her in there and they lock her in there.
Yep. And we see his body, and it looks very similar to even like how, especially the first guy did afterwards.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was confused too.
I was like, what's going on?
It looks very similar, and I thought maybe I was like, did he just grow Larry's skin because it was the last one that he got? Or
yeah.
What? I didn't know if maybe the DNA from all these people was affecting him as he was growing.
He just looked like everybody, maybe.
Yeah. But I don't know.
No. That's her dad on the floor, and we do have the Cenobites coming, and they're like, we want the man who did this, essentially to her, because she's freaking out, because at this point
I don't think she realized
she didn't even catch on. No, yeah.
Because she's like, no, you can't, like, that's my dad.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have him.
And then that's whenever I'm sorry, this is the part when we're like, oh shit, that's Frank, because it's all coming together, because then she's talking to Frank and he's like, come to daddy.
Yeah. And he says, stay with us, we can all be happy here, which is something that Larry had actually told Julia upon moving in.
Yeah.
And then he says, come to daddy, and it was like, ugh.
Oh, and then he ends up trying to rush towards her, and he ends up inadvertently stabbing Julia,
which I think was his plan the whole time. Because I think if he could have had Kirsty, he would have preferred it. But like, how, oh god, Kirsty must have had to go through some major therapy,
traumatic after that. Well, you haven't seen Hellbound 2 or Hellraiser 2, which is just a continuation of the first movie.
Oh, is it good?
It's a very like I don't remember enough to tell you. It's been that long, so I couldn't tell you. But apparently, people think it's really good.
Okay, I'll have to go watch it.
And so, we do have
that one was on HBO Max. Like
yeah,
every other Hellraiser
one except
was
the first one.
On HBO
I saw that.
Max. I was like, God damn it! It's always that
and
way.
And even Hulu as well. And so, because Hulu is where the remake is.
Yeah.
And so we do have her running all the way upstairs. She hides in the room that we know that Miss fucking Julia was hiding all the bodies in. So as she's hiding, I'm like, essentially, I know these bodies are going to pop out at some point. And we do have Frank coming in, and he's looking for her. And
wait, before that, whenever she opens that closet and Jesus falls out.
Oh, yeah.
Both Andrew and I jumped.
Oh, did y'all?
You're like, oh, fuck. And then he was
Jump
like,
scare.
Jesus, literally.
And so she's there. She's trying to hide. She's like behind all this shit. And I also don't know how Frank didn't hear, but she's in there and she accidentally like has this body fall kind of closer to her. And it's very like obviously, deteriorating, has maggots up in it. Yeah, and she somehow manages to not scream.
I would not have been able to. And also, sorry, before she like even ran upstairs, she tore that hole in his face.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was wondering like why his face wasn't healing after he drained Julia, but
that's what I thought so too. I literally thought that too. I was like, it should have healed.
Yeah, but then I wonder, I guess if he's just wearing someone else's skin.
It's not actually his.
Yeah.
That's
true. But then
true.
I wonder like how much closer he got to being
Frank
underneath it. I don't know.
Underneath it all.
What a good song.
And so we do have like Frank not hearing her make that body move, which I'm like, okay, how? But he ends up leaving the room. But
she
then
immediately gets up,
yeah,
like a fucking idiot.
And
I was like,
walks
girl,
out.
do not, what?
And he ends up catching her. I think, are they back in the attic?
Yeah,
right?
He pulls her back into the attic, and then he says, your dear Uncle Frank is here. And then I was like, yeah, and so are the Cenobites. And then he tries to like kill Kirsty with that knife yet again.
But they end up hooking him.
Yep. They hook him and stop him, and they are just pulling his skin apart.
Everything, yeah.
And this scene, awesome. Whenever he was sitting there and just like with 5 hooks in his face.
And this next part was actually, I guess, the only part of the movie that was
rewritten.
Also the 1-2 words that he says, they were ad-libbed. They were.
Oh, yeah. The script was actually supposed to say "fuck you," but they changed it to be "Jesus wept."
Oh, did they?
Yeah, that's what I read, but that could also be wrong.
I was told that it was that he. I'm gonna have to cuss out Robert. Robert told me that the actor improvised that, but I'll tell him that he was wrong.
Andrew Robinson convinced Clive Barker to replace the scripted line "fuck you" with the line actually shot "Jesus wept."
Oh well, that's the actor. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So then, I guess he did Yeah.
It was ad-libbed. Yeah.
Okay.
Like he was like, instead of fuck you. Yeah. Which
Jesus
also,
wept.
I get
Which
that
I
there
guess-
was like religious iconography throughout the movie, but also I was just like, that doesn't make sense, but okay.
No,
I felt like it was more like shock value.
Yeah, it was a
Mhm.
little weird.
Yeah.
But it looked really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he was licking his lips too, which was like, ew, it's like he's getting pleasure out
And
of
then
this.
they end up like just as soon as she cuts, like closes the door just enough for us to see that he like gets ripped apart to shreds essentially. And
we think she's safe.
and she's trying to escape the house, but she can't. And
Thyroid comes up.
we do, yeah. And she's like, we're not finished with you yet, essentially. And so she ends up able to figure out a way to destroy the Cenobites, or not really, but like put them back in the box because she's like
She finds
doing it in
Julia.
reverse or something.
Yeah, and she finds Julia's body like also chained up in the bed holding the box.
That's right.
And that's where Pinhead pops up behind her and he says like, we have such
high hopes for you or something like that.
we have such sights to show you.
Oh yeah.
And then that's when she turns around and is like, go to hell.
And he's like, no, don't
Yeah.
do that. And,
And
she
sends him back
to the box. And then she does it for other two of them, like the girl one, and then the muncher. What's his name? Chatterer.
Teeth chatter guy.
And she ends up trying to get out of there. Steve comes up and he's like trying
this
to help
was where
her.
the electricity got really bad too.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this electric
when they're
stuff
zapping away.
hasn't aged well, as it like the turned yellow and then it
Yeah. And Steve comes in there to try to get her, but he's doesn't really do.
He almost dies by Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, but before that even happens, it's funny because Jabba the Hutt gets like squished by I guess all the, debris of the falling house, which I'm like, that's the only one that you don't have to put back. I guess I don't know.
I was a little confused by that. Also, this felt very like Pokemon. Got to catch them all.
Yeah, just put him
She's
into the
catching
Pokeball.
them in their Pokeball.
And they end up, like you said, this is very Carrie style. They make it out, and the whole house is just like going, it's falling in on itself.
Oh, wait, before she has, as they go to try to open that door, the bug demon thing, Grub comes back in. That's not Jabba. Jabba was the other one
you're
with
right.
the
You're right.
sunglasses.
Yeah, you're right.
But it comes back in, and it honestly just looks like she's having a slapping fight.
Yeah,
with
that's
it
pretty comical
for the longest time, and then you're just getting these like really intense shot of her eyes.
And I think it even slapped Steve at one point. Yeah.
And then she finally is like able to send it back, but it just was for the longest time. Like if you would have taken away all the other sound around it, I felt like it would have just sounded like.
Yeah, it's very much like those music videos that they take away the music and then you hear like the person's shoes squeaking and like, dance break. I did that. Oh, I look so hot. And so they end up picking it out. The whole house is burning down. It's like somehow in little piles separated. And
I was so confused. Also, I wish they honestly would have ended it with the door slamming shut. That would have been a like perfect cliffhanger ending. You don't really know what happens. I thought that would have been really nice. But yes, it's burning and there's like this one chair that's like fully still formed and on fire. And I was like, you're telling me that the whole foundation of this house is destroyed, but this chair?
It made it.
This chair is still standing.
It's destined. It was destined for her to then throw the little puzzle box on it and into the fire because I guess she's thinking it's gonna
burn it away.
And it doesn't because we have the creepy guy coming. And she's just staring at him and Steve's just staring like what's about to happen, and it shape shifts out from he ends up reaching into the fire. He catches on fire and I guess the skin suit melts off because it turns into this dragon.
The fucking dragon. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it turns into a dragon and it just takes the box and flies off with it. And we do see it's on the table again. We have the dude who was selling it earlier and he's asking the dude again, right? What's your pleasure or something like that?
Yeah, he says, what's your pleasure? Sure, sir. Not sure. And it was a nice little bookend. And the way that after, we had the box the first time, it panned in through the circle on the box. And then this did the same thing that it panned out with that circle on the box. We see Kirsty and Steve still standing there until the box forms. And then we're on that table again with that man. And what's your pleasure, sir?
And that's the end of the movie.
Roll credits.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good little ending. I do, again, think it would be fun. This does very much leave it open-ended for a second film. Yeah. But I think also slamming the door shut could have been just a cool way to end it as well. And still be I think it still leaves it perfectly open for a sequel.
Yeah.
But.
Because there's no real ending, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know how she. I think Robert told me this part of the second one is that someone brings back Julia.
Mm.
And Kirsty somehow is roped into it somehow, and she ends up like, yeah, it's this whole stuff. Yeah.
Fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be interested in watching that. Pinhead originally had a bunch of different names. They didn't really know what to call him.
I think it wasn't until the second one where they came up with like, okay, this is his name.
Yeah, it was basically like just a nickname that stuck because they were originally calling him. Doug Bradley's character was named Priest in the earliest drafts of the script, and ultimately became simply lead Cenobite in the shooting script.
Gotcha.
Pinhead originated as a nickname for the character, and it stuck, and they began using it in the sequels.
Makes sense.
Clive Barker actually disliked the name, finding it undignified, and in his Hellraiser comic series produced for Boom in 2011, had characters refer to Pinhead as Priest.
Oh, okay.
So
he tried to retcon that.
Yeah, he was like, I can't let this. No.
He hates it. Yeah.
I think maybe because it wasn't his own name that he came up with.
Maybe. Well, I guess maybe he could also like, I'm Pinhead Larry. No, I'm Dirty Dan. And nobody wants to be Pinhead.
That's
a
true.
Pinhead, I think, essentially had a really negative connotation from like
Being
the
like,
30s,
"You're
40s. Yeah. And like American Horror Story Freak Show. Like there was an actual like, I don't know how, but people were having deformities back in the day. That I don't know if it was inbreeding or just like maybe not enough oxygen during childbirth, but they would have like pinheads,
like a cone.
Yeah, like a cone head. And that's why they're called pinheads. Yeah, so it's a little derogatory, I feel like too. But yeah,
but priests don't make a lot of sense either.
It does not.
I mean, unless you're saying that sex is your god.
Could be.
And they are your angels. I don't know.
But I would give it, if we're going into the booze, 3.5.
3.5.
A middle of the road 3.5 for me.
Why is that?
I thought, well, I'll give it a 4 solely because for its time the practical effects were really good.
Yeah,
that was the best like part of this whole movie.
I was shocked.
Was the practical effects and like how really cool and gory and like creepy things looked. Honestly, the storyline, I didn't remember the storyline being this, which was essentially just like two lovers and like trying to, him trying to get back to life. I just for some reason didn't remember it that way. Even though I remembered like kind of the characters of, but it was so interesting to watch, honestly. It had a cool story. I honestly think too,
it was a drama.
Like, that's what I'm like, it was literally a drama. Yeah.
Kept you involved. It was also just dark as fuck.
Yeah. A lot of murder, a lot of death.
Lots of gore.
And, Larry really got the shit into the stick. Because I feel like he was really trying to be like, he was a caring spouse.
Nice guys finish last.
Yeah. And yeah, if anything, it's just more so for like the effects, and for Pinhead himself, the movie will get a 4 from me. But storyline, everything else, I feel like 3.5, if that makes sense. Yeah. I'm still a 4.
I think I really liked the storyline, actually. I mean, my other favorite genre of films is rom-coms. So I'm a little sucker for the love stories.
I guess maybe because I just couldn't care for Julia or Frank that much. Like it was just like not, I don't know. But
I mean, I clearly, between them, I still was just like, okay. I mean, she was a pretty shitty person. And then he was obviously trash.
Yeah.
But
they were made for each other.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't know. It was still kind of like, oh, this is interesting. And that she's willing to do all this.
Yeah. It's like almost like how Science, we were like, this is a drama and there just happens to be aliens. It's like, this is a drama and there just happens to be these Cenobites.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just fuck ton of gore. That I feel like could just be, I mean, this, if there was ever a classification of gore, this is it. Other than like Saw. Because it was really fucking bloody. I actually was pleasantly surprised. I didn't I didn't remember thinking I was going to like it this much. But all the shots and how well everything aged was just really incredible to me. Other than, the electricity, lightning things. Those really, really didn't. It was very much like Freddy, and whenever he like just like kind of glitches right before dying. or whatever.
It
or
gave
before,
that. Yeah.
And but that was still even done better.
It really was like just not that good.
Yeah, I was like everything else so top.
Because the film, like, I think it was made with $1 million and it made 14
Yes.
million in the box office, but
I think it made 20.
something like that. It made a
Yeah.
lot. It didn't look cheap, and those lights make it look cheap.
Yes,
Mhm.
and it was almost like they knew how to do practical effects, but not special effects.
Mhm.
Whoever the practical effect guy, makeup guy, did a
Mhm.
fantastic job,
Yeah.
and then they just hired some like subpar technical and special effect dude
I can see that. Yeah.
or lady, I don't know.
It's just
But yeah, it just seemed like this was on just
a high
another
caliber.
level,
Mhm.
and then this was just down here. But overall, I mean, I thought it was an hour, 30 minutes, 33 minutes. It was really easy to get through. It was, the scenes alone were just really cool, artistic. I liked it.
Some really cool transitions.
Yeah,
in there.
really cool transitions.
Very like
and
it's almost like an art house horror film.
yes,
you know?
exactly. And then it also, I mean, the acting on some levels wasn't like my favorite, but it also wasn't terrible in the slightest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, overall, I think I would give it a 4. A solid 4.
4 boos.
From me.
You heard
So.
that. So it's a solid 4 from the BooBaes overall.
Also, I didn't know what the term Cenobite meant.
I didn't know it has a
so-
meaning.
Yes, it is a real word that means
Oh.
a member of a communal religious order.
Oh.
So I
that
guess
makes
that's
sense.
also why some more religious stuff
was
comes
put
into play.
it, and why his name was supposed to be priest.
Yes, and the Hellbound heart specifies that they are members of the Order of the Gash, and the text also refers to them as hierophants. I have no clue what that word means.
Sycophants, but hierophants.
Have never heard of it. I want to look up on the web. It is a hierophant is a person who brings religious congregants into the presence of that which is deemed holy. As such, I hope this is the correct way to say it. Hierophant is an interpreter of sacred mysteries and arcane principles. The word comes from ancient Greece, where it was constructed from the combination of these Greek letters that I cannot tell you because I don't know Greek.
That's wild.
But yes, so interesting. So it seems the book has a much more religious taking than maybe we realized just from watching it. And I feel like maybe they could have fleshed that out a teeny bit better than in the movie to really make that point clear. Unless you're like going in knowing the word Cenobite, which I didn't.
Yeah, no, I didn't either. And I'm like, who would really?
Yeah. It's odd unless you're like a religious text
it went from
major.
a book to a movie really fast because like the book came out, the Hellbound Heart came out in 86.
They were
and
really
the movie
a fan
came out
of
in
doing
87.
that. You know, Exorcist was a quick turnaround.
That's true.
Um,
Well, I mean, even to this day, I guess that makes sense.
yeah.
Movies be turning into books all the time, or books turn into
In
movies. My
movies,
bad.
yeah.
Mhm.
But sometimes I feel like it takes a long time for certain books where I'm like, this should really be
A
like,
book, yeah.
like Twilight.
How long did that take? I don't know.
I was in the 6th grade when I started reading some of those, and those films didn't come out until we were in high school. So like 4 years.
That's still really fast, though.
I wanted it to be sooner, and then I was let down.
Well,
But
yeah.
now
that's
they're
what
a
happens
meme,
with
and
books
it's fun.
that turn into movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
so
interesting. There's so much.
solid 4 from us.
Yes, solid 4 from your BooBaes for 1987's Hellraiser.
Hellraiser, and what will we be covering next, Josh?
We'll be covering the remake for Hellraiser, which is Hellraiser.
Also called
Yeah.
Hellraiser.
But I'm excited. It's on Hulu, so if you're listening to this and you want to watch it before you hear us talking about it next time, go do that. It's free. Yeah,
It's free, assuming you have Hulu.
that's true. Sorry. Oops. You have to be subscribed to Hulu.
You need to start a free trial, but Lord knows we probably all have started a free trial with Hulu on 18 different addresses already.
Yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, super excited. It's
You've already seen it,
I've already
right?
seen it.
Okay,
So,
I've
and you're
not.
going in dry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got one lubed up, one dry. So we'll give you a pretty good,
decent fuck.
review of what
Oh.
happens. Yeah, that of
Dry fucking is never good.
no. So yeah, that's what's happening.
That's right. And
And-
so if you want to listen to that and or any of the other, well, as always, we're in the lovely Rogue Media Network studios. They always take great care of us. And if you want to listen to our upcoming podcast or any of the other great podcasts on this network, you can do so at
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
That's right. And then you could also find us on a slew of podcasting platforms, biggest two being
Spotify.
and Apple.
Mm-hmm.
But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
Rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that's the only way we can get ahead in this world. And then if you want to let us know your thoughts on Pinhead, if you had a nice Pinhead experience, if you had a really scary Pinhead experience.
If you are Pinhead.
If you are Pinhead.
Please.
Let us know.
DM us. Yeah.
On our only social media platform that is Instagram at
BooBaes Podcast. And that's BOOBAES, because they're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes.
That's right.
And I love how that's such a flex for us. Like our only social media. What
Is
a
it
flex.
a flex?
No, it's like, because it's so funny that it's like, that is our flex though. You can only find us in one spot.
Yeah, one spot.
We're elusive.
It's confusing. No, people do get on Facebook still. Not us, though.
Facebook runs the world.
Yeah.
Facebook owns Instagram.
That's true.
Yeah.
Meta.
So it all works.
Yeah.
It's all the same. But anyways, I think, is that all we have for today?
I think it is.
It is. So until next time.
Bye, bays.
Bye, bays.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.
Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support in a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.